All right, we are recording now. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom, and I'm Tom Nebel. I'm calling in from Madison, Wisconsin. I work with an organization called Giant Worldwide, where we work to develop leaders worth following. We say who build leaders worth following. As it turns out, Dave DeVries, who lives in Seattle, Washington, is part of one of my groups. But in our promo for this, we've referred to Dave as a master coach, and I have no hesitation saying that because he's not only an author of an awesome book called 99 Excellent Coaching Questions, but he makes his livelihood and has a lot of fun coaching others to go further faster. And in a minute, Dave, we're gonna start interacting with you because we're gonna take it to the bottom of the hour as we're just setting it up, and we called it 3 outstanding coaching questions, and you can take this anywhere you want. You and I will be interacting, and other people are able to type questions in, send them in, and we'll be able to play off of those as well. But hey, everybody, I want to give you a visual picture as we get started. And I'm going to show you something I just pulled out of my closet. It's almost always in the closet because I don't want it exposed to the light very much. But I don't know if any of you have been watching I started watching it last night. I get mesmerized by anything by Ken Burns. And he's doing a section or a documentary right now on the life and the legacy of Jackie Robinson. So, the first black man in Major League Baseball. And he played with the Brooklyn Dodgers, but he never made it to Los Angeles as a Dodger because he retired in 1957, and then the team moved in 1958 to L.A. Dave, I got a question for you, totally out of the blue, but you grew up where?
Southern California.
And, and what's your baseball team that you follow?
L.A. Dodgers. Okay,
well, sweet, because you're going to like this. If nobody else on the call likes this, you're going to like this, okay? But I want to show you my grandfather on my mom's side, her dad, his brother. Okay, so this would be like a great uncle of mine, my mom's uncle. He was a banker in Los Angeles that in part worked the deal to get the Dodgers to move from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. So what I pulled out of my closet a few minutes ago, and as I said, I don't expose it to light very much, but this is an autographed baseball of the original Los Angeles Dodgers team.
Wow.
So Dave, you would know some of these players. Like if I said, well, I see Sandy Koufax's name and Don Drysdale, Pee Wee Reese, Wally Moon, Gil Hodges, all those names matter to you because you bleed Dodger blue. And Dave, I suspected you might have been a Dodgers fan just because I know you're from LA, but I didn't know that for a fact. And I got thinking about this because I was just watching the impact that even a player like a Jackie Robinson, he didn't become a success just because he was an African-American anomaly. He became a success because he was coached. He listened to coaching, not just on the baseball field, but certainly way beyond, and that's where so much of his legacy evolved, and it is such an important figure in American history. If you're not watching the Ken Burns documentary, pick that up on PBS. It'll move you, and it'll remind you that it's others around us that bring us further, faster, and make us better. So, Dave, give us a snapshot on you, and then we're going to interact here about this issue of 3 outstanding coaching questions, because we're all of us coach others.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I got into coaching because somebody coached me, and I really didn't know a whole lot about coaching back in 1990. I set out to plant a church in Southern California, and the denomination that I partnered with, the missionary church, believed in coaching. They were committed that every church planter needed to have a coach. And so I was assigned an amazing coach, Steve Ogney, who is a friend of and mentored in your life before he went home to heaven. And boy, he was a great coach for me. And so really, Steve helped me navigate through the challenges of starting that church. And as he did, I began to discover that the skills that he was using with me to help me develop as a church planter would be helpful for me to begin using with the leaders around me. So I began adopting a coaching model, didn't have any training, just watched what Steve did and started doing that with others. And boy, what a blessing that was in my life. And as a result of that, after I resigned from the church I planted, I went on and developed my coaching skills, went through several training programs, and got credentialed with the International Coach Federation. And I'm a professional certified coach with the ICF, and spend a lot of time just walking alongside leaders and helping, really assisting them in pursuing the goals that God has for them in their life.
All right. And Dave, the stuff that we do, you and I both have ministry backgrounds, but the stuff that we do and the coaching questions we'll share today, they're transferable, whether you're in ministry or if you're in some industry, or if you're looking ways to coach your children or your neighbors or your spouse, and maybe even yourself. All right.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So wherever you come from, in fact, at the end, we'll share our contact information and how you can get a hold of us if you want. And Dave, I don't know if you want your cell phone going out there. If you do, I'll scratch it out on this because I've got information relative to that. But Dave, I want us to take it away. I want you to take it away. I mean, coaching is, in a lot of ways, it's not so much the art of giving good answers, but it's asking good questions. And we're gonna let you take it away. So tell us what you got. I'll play off with you, and then everybody remember you can fire questions in, and we'll do our best to field them. Yeah. So, Dr. Dave DeVries.
Well, it's interesting as I work with leaders. Most leaders get paid to tell people what to do. That's part of leadership. And what I've discovered is that if you really want to help develop leaders around you, asking questions and helping them to discover for themselves what they need to do next is so much more powerful than going around and telling people what to do. In fact, when you get into that habit of telling people what to do, you oftentimes create a codependent relationship. And so they will come back to you to find out, what am I supposed to do next? Okay, I finished what you told me to do. Now what do I do? Mm-hmm. But if you can develop this skill, really, of asking powerful questions, you can coach and empower those around you to actually succeed and really excel without necessarily having to create that dependency where they just keep coming back to you over and over and over again. So whether you are a manager, whether you're a supervisor, whether you're a developer of others around you, coaching questions are one of the most powerful tools that you can develop in really being one who empowers others. And so this skill of asking great questions is really important. And one of the things that I want to just reflect on is, as I coach leaders and as I even coach family members and friends at times, oftentimes I'll ask a question and they'll say to me, "Wow, Dave, that's a really good question." Had that happen to you? And I start to want to pat myself on the back and think, wow, I really ask great questions. And what I discovered after a time is that when they say that's a good question, that may or may not be true. It actually might be that they don't have an answer and they just need time to think about it. And so they're saying that's a good question just to kind of reflect and get some time to think. And so really what I want to do is I want to ask a question that causes a person to reflect. So when I think about what makes a question powerful, what makes a question good, what would qualify for an outstanding question, I want to start there by thinking that question has to cause the person to reflect before answering. If you ask a question and they just immediately start rattling off information to you, that's not a powerful question.
There you go.
What really makes that question good, I think, is the level of awareness that it raises in the person, that it causes them to reflect, to think, to consider before they answer that question. And so really outstanding questions, good questions, powerful questions are when you ask a question that they haven't already figured out the answer. We want deeper.
Steve Martin used to ask, how much does the moon weigh? So that would be
yeah, that would cause some reflection.
Yeah.
The other thing, just in terms of thinking about powerful questions before I give you these outstanding questions for you to consider, is the reality that not every question is a powerful question. Not every question is an outstanding question. And I think for me, I work really hard to ask open questions. That open questions are those questions that can't be answered with just a simple one-word answer or yes or no, but they're questions that require really a conversation to really get to that deeper answer for the question. And so I always want to ask questions that are open, that require that deeper thinking. And one of the techniques that I use when I ask those questions, and just for you to think about as you develop the questions that you use, is I work really hard to make sure that the second word in my question is not the word you. If I ask a question that starts with do you or will you or could you or should you or why don't you, but those types of questions tend to be answered yes or no. And so I try to start my questions more with how could you, or what have you, or when will you? Those types of questions tend to be more open. So just something to think about in terms of developing those questions that are going to have a deeper impact on those that you're working with.
Cool.
So now you want the powerful question.
You're holding me in suspension, man. You're toying with me.
Well, I just want to share one other thing, and that is the reality that I wrote a book called 99 Powerful Questions with my friend Steve Ogney, who had been my coach. Yeah. And we might talk about it later, but I think it's very ironic that you would ask me to come up with 3 when I have a book of 99 right here in front of me.
You can go as long as you want, man, but the record button shuts off at the bottom of the hour.
No, I totally understand. I just want to acknowledge the fact that there are so many questions out there that I could choose from. So I want to give 3 categories of questions, and then I want to dive in and just share some more than just these 3. But I'm going to give 3 outstanding questions for you to think of. And so the first one I want to call is the result question. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the result question basically asks the person, what's the result that you want from this? Okay? And it could be, what's the result you want from the meeting that you have coming up? What's the result that you want from the conversation that we're having today? What's the result or outcome that you want from your vacation? This can go in a whole lot of different directions. But a long time ago, I read the book from Stephen Covey on the 7 habits of highly effective people. And one of his habits was begin with the end in mind. And so this result question, I think, is an outstanding question to ask, because it really surfaces within the person that you're coaching or working with, what's the result they're after? What is the outcome that they want to have? And so that would be the first kind of category of outstanding question that I throw out there for you. The second question is the importance question. And oftentimes, when I'm coaching someone, I want it to be valuable to them and valuable to me that we're spending this time having this conversation. And so I found that it's very helpful to ask this question. So why is this important to you? And again, this can relate to a lot of different areas, but I think it helps that person to surface the value and importance of what it is that we're talking about. Or maybe we're dealing with a conflict, and I might ask, so why is resolving this conflict important to you? We may be dealing with a goal that they want to achieve. Why is attaining that goal important to you? And really, what happens when I tap into that importance is it helps us both to focus on what's their motivation to work toward this goal and to accomplish what it is that they're setting out to do.
Okay.
So that would be the second category, if you will, of outstanding questions. So the first is the result question. The second would be the importance question. And then the third one is really what I would probably call the action question. And that could be summed up, simply by asking the question, what is your next step? Or what do you need to do to move forward on this? But a lot of times we can talk around in circles about problems. We can talk about opportunities. We can brainstorm solutions. But it's really not until we ask that action question that we actually make a commitment to move forward. What will you do next? And that question actually happens to be number 94 in the 99 Powerful Questions book. But I really love the way that Keller and Papasan talk about it in the One Thing book. So I don't know if you've read this excellent book. The way they phrase the question is, what's the one thing that you can do today such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary?
Wow.
I love that question.
Let me
say it again.
Yeah, say it again. We've got it recorded, but I want you to say it again because I think that's fascinating. I'm unfamiliar with that question.
So the question is, what's the one thing that you could do today such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And the reality is there are many things that we can choose to do. But if we can look at the one thing, that action that we're going to take that's going to make everything else go easier today, or possibly even make some of the things on my to-do list disappear.
Yeah.
That's the thing to focus on next.
Now, do you use that in a self-coaching way, Dave?
I absolutely do. In fact, great question there, Tom. I have that question pop up on my phone every morning.
Oh, seriously? That's what you actually... At
6 a.m., that's the first question that I have a reminder set on my phone. It pops up and reminds me every day to think about what's the one thing that I'm going to do today.
Well, see, folks, the reason I put these blabs on is because because I get good ideas. So, ironically, Dave, that's what I'm blogging on later this week.
Is that right? Wow.
Okay.
Glad to help there, Tom.
That's okay. Now listen up. Jason writes in. We're going to have you field this. He says, "Is there ever a time to ask leading questions to someone you are coaching, or do they need to be open-ended without leading someone down a certain pathway?"
Yeah. So here's what I would say. I want to ask questions that are for the coachee. So I'm not asking questions that are for me or to lead me to get more information so that I can offer them a solution. I want to ask them questions that are going to help raise their awareness, okay? So there may be a time that I ask what someone might refer to as a leading question, a question that's going to lead them to a specific conclusion. Mm-hmm. I think that's okay, sparingly.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Now listen. Let me, and by the way, gang, we got another, it says 7 minutes. We might take 2 or 3 more. We won't go much longer than that, but fire your questions or your reflections as Dave and I are having this discussion right now. So Dave, what I had heard you say is, the result question, and, you can fashion that a way that you want, right? I mean, but you could say, what's the result that you want, or what's your goal, or what are you hoping your outcome is, or however you want to nuance that. The importance question, why is this important to you? I think that word why is helpful to me. Mm-hmm. I don't like the how question so much when it comes to important, because I think that's a leading question.
Yeah.
In fact, they do it all the time in sports interviews. How important was it for you to make the shot? Or how important was it? Doesn't matter what they say, because the question is always answered very important. So I don't like the how important question, but the why is this important is really good. And then lastly, the action question, what are you going to do next? What are you going to run with? And then as the way you put it, what's the one thing you can do today by which everything else will be made easier or unnecessary? Okay, now listen, Dave, we've got a question, so I want you to get at this one. Dave, can you speak on the importance of questions regarding adult learning methods?
Yeah. So I think that's great, Gino. Thank you. I believe that adults learn best through self-discovery.
Okay.
So I want to ask questions that generate new insight rather than ask questions that regurgitate information or things that they've tried before. And so I think when we're thinking about an adult learning method, rather than me offering solutions, which oftentimes we put on that consultant hat and drift back into, I want to stay in that coaching mindset that's always driving for their self-discovery. Because an adult learns best when they can discover for themselves and they own those actions that will move them forward. So even if I brainstorm with a coachee on possible alternatives or solutions for moving forward, then I want to come back and say, okay, of all these things that we've talked about that you've come up with on your own, which one of these will you do? And that reinforces their commitment to the idea that they've generated. So self-generated learning, self-generated insights are going to be most powerful, and they're going to last. If they just do what I tell them to do, it gets difficult, they're going to quit. But if it's something they believe is important, that's going to work to motivate and move them further.
Well, and the other thing that comes to mind too, Dave, is that with adult learning, we know that interaction and verbalization is what really seals the deal. So by asking questions, you are generating, you're generating thought and thought discussions. And by the way, the other thing is some of you might have heard from the beginning of the blab here, but Dave and I each have history, and we do work in Christian ministry. And, you know, if you look at the life of Jesus, and by the way, you don't have to be a believer for this to matter to you. Everybody's going to agree that Jesus is an amazing teacher. Okay, so but you read in the scriptures, and you will see how much of his adult learning, shall we say, came in the form of questions, not in the form of answers, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, what else we got cooking here? I'm going to put this up right now because we're going to take a few more minutes. But Dave, I don't know if you want for people to contact you, but I'll put up just a couple of things. Now, question, Dave, and this would be relevant for anybody who's in ministry who might be at the big shindig in Orlando in a couple of weeks, which is exponential. But you're going to be there, right, Dave?
Yes, I will. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hanging out with you, Tom, and connecting with other people who might be there. Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, in fact, 2 of the 3 seminars I'm doing are based on giant tools. And Dave, you've been around the giant world because we use all these visual tools to try to communicate. Actually, when you talk about adult learning, that's a really good example of how visuals take people places sometimes that that verbalization doesn't just do. But Dave and I will both be there, but this is just easy contact info. I mean, for me, tom.nebel@giantworldwide.com. You got my cell phone is there, and pretty much at Tom P. Nebel gets you to what I'm up to. And I can talk about that Ministry Leaders Core Group in just a moment, but this is Dave's contact, and you could probably see too at the top of your screen. He goes as @DaveDV. Okay. And, so then we got DaveDV at me.com. So Dave, I don't know if there's more if there's more information you want to give. We're gonna take about 5 more minutes, everybody. We'll stop at 33 past the hour.
Fabulous. Yeah, I'll throw out one great question I used this morning in a coaching conversation that my friend Tom Nebel actually helped me to start using, and that was this question: when are you at your best? And I was working with a leader in Nashville, and he's working through some self-awareness, and I really embraced the idea that you need to know yourself to lead yourself. And so we had a great conversation surrounding that idea. When are you at your best?
Are you able to share, without breaking confidence, but are you able to share like the nature of how he responded to that question?
Well, it was great because it required some self-reflection. I think he's a fairly self-aware leader, but he began to articulate and fairly quickly identified about 3 or 4 different areas. And then as a result of really identifying those things he knows about himself, we were able then to look at 4 opportunities that he had in front of him and consider, which of those opportunities was going to let him function at his best. And at the end of the conversation, I asked him just a simple question: what do you want to remember most from our conversation today? And he said, I'm gonna keep on thinking about when I at my best. So
that's excellent. Yeah. I mean, because when they'll throw that question out, I think that's a question we should constantly be asking in order to calibrate how we optimally perform. I know, like for me, when you just throw that question out right now, I want to say, hey, I'm at my best in the morning. Okay. Once I get cooking, I'm at my best, but late afternoon, I'm not so good. But that's excellent.
Yeah. I'll throw out one other great question to think about that my friend Steve Aldrich asked me one day. He said this. He said, Dave, what leaves the room when you do? That was a great thought-provoking question because it caused me to think about what is it that I bring that if I'm not there is no longer present in the room. So again, Steve, Tom set me up for 3 outstanding questions. I wanted to give you a few more there. So what leaves the room when you do?
Nice. You got any more you want to pull out of your hat, Dave? We got a few more minutes. I declared we'll go till 33 past the hour.
Yeah. So I like the question, where are you finding resistance in your life right now? That's a good reflection question. And then one more I'll throw out there, which is number 92 in our 99 Powerful Questions book, is what do your leaders need from you?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times we think about as leaders, what do we need from those around us? But I think it's important to really be aware of what do those that I'm leading, what do they need from me? Cool.
Hey, Dave, let me take a minute as we wrap up. And this is not a setup. I mean, I didn't preset you up on this, but great leaders benefit from coaching. And I receive coaching. You have shown. I mean, you're part of a coaching cohort that I have.
Yep.
And I'm doing another one. Starting at the end of May. It's going to be Thursday afternoons. It's called a Ministry Leaders Core Group. And we don't just do work in ministry, but it's just so happens that this is such a great delivery. Any comments about that core group process? Because you've been part of it, and we're more than halfway through the year in the group.
So I've been part of this now for 6 months with Tom and several other leaders, and I have discovered that for me, I'll go back to just that, know yourself to lead yourself. I feel like I'm a fairly self-aware leader, and yet at the same time, I have received greater clarity and awareness of who I am as it relates to where I need to go next. And so for me, the conversations and the tools and the insights have been very powerful.
Hey, by the way, I just sent you your toolkit. It got in the mail yesterday, so you'll get that.
I've been checking my mailbox every day, so thank you.
I was off to Panama. I didn't get it before I was in Panama. I was gone for almost 2 weeks, so yeah, it's coming. It's in the mail, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually listening to a podcast today with Michael Hyatt, and he listed 10 productivity hacks, and number 8 was invest in coaching.
There you go. Nice.
So
that's cool. I saw that, and I didn't get on that. Cast of his, but yeah. Hey, cool. You know what? We are kind of hitting it, everybody. We're hitting, I want to respect everybody's time on this. This is recorded, so you're going to be able to get it, I believe, off of, watch our Facebook links. I'm sure Dave, or, on our Twitter stuff and all that. And we'll make this accessible to you. But I got to tell you, Dave, what I loved, I love you, first of all. You are a dear friend and someone that I'm glad I can do life with. I love the question. What's one thing you can do today which makes everything else easier and unnecessary? And the fact that you brought that to me today really makes my life better. I don't know, any wrap ups for you? Anything you want to say about you, or anything as we close this the show down?
I would just say I love coaching leaders. I've been doing it in the nonprofit sector as well as in the government sector for the last several years. And if you're looking for a coach to work with, I'd love to consider working with you or with one of my team. We'd love to come alongside to help.
Sounds great. Okay, everybody, that's Dave's contact, but you can find it, just remember we got my website, tompniebel.com. I don't know, this is kind of pathetic how I'm showing this to you, but just be in touch with us, and we're all in this thing together. Okay? So, awesome. Thank you, Doctor, for being in the house today, and thank you all for joining us. We can help you do life. You just let us know, and we'll come alongside, okay? Okay. Best to you all. Bye.